Good morning, everybody. Welcome
Hi.
to another episode of Wellness Weekends. My name is Kathy Reneses. I'm Central Holistico's in-house life coach, and with me today is one of our lovely doctors, Doc Issa Domingo. Hi, Doc. Kamusta?
Hi, morning. Nice seeing you again.
Lovely to see you again. It's been a while. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah. Oo, tama.
So
Sorry
how
for the mess, huh? Kalat na room ko. I wasn't ready.
no, it looks really good on camera. Like I'll be honest.
It's a new webcam kasi. It's wide angle pala. Hindi ko na focus. Anyway.
So today we're going to be talking about a topic that is super interesting. I think especially for women, we're talking about fertility and traditional Chinese medicine.
Yeah.
Um, I have to say, like, I was kind of scratching my head when I heard about the topic, na parang fertility and then traditional Chinese medicine. Like, what does one have to do with the other? But then, I guess this 2,000-year-old medical practice. I mean, it's been around for ages, so something is working in that area, right? Could
Yeah.
you explain the connection?
Yeah. Okay. Um, alam mo, I'm actually quite new to this. I just studied. I finished my studies in Chinese medicine sometime last year, like early last year. And
Mm.
that was the only time I knew that infertility was a big issue, and a lot of Chinese medicine doctors are actually treating it. In fact, my mentor, one of my mentors, her name is Sister Regina Liu. She's known in the country. She has a very strong underground following from the infertility market. She sees around 70 to 100 patients
Oh,
per
wow.
day. Per day, grabe.
Okay.
A lot of them are infertility cases. So going back to how it treats it, um, I remember in our first interview we talked about Chinese medicine, diba? Like
Mhm.
general, what it does.
Yeah.
Um, let's just say infertility is an imbalance in women's bodies. Okay,
Oh.
um, a lot of factors cause this imbalance, from your diet to the way you exercise, the way you sleep,
Mm,
yeah, even your sexual activity affects this chi, this energy you have inside of you. And so
okay.
in Chinese medicine, which is very dependent on chi or energy,
Yeah.
we look at the state of your fertile energy, if that makes sense. And
Got it.
yeah, we sometimes there's a problem with the way it flows. It doesn't nourish your body very well, your uterus very well. Sometimes there's not enough energy because of overworking.
Mm.
Uh, we can get to that later. But yeah, it all goes back to the state of your chi or your energy, and
That's
that's
so
where the energy
interesting.
comes in. Yeah,
Yeah, no, because like for me, like just at least in my kind of understanding, when we talk about fertility issues, we usually say, ah, no, it's genetic kasi, like, like he has something that's genetic or she has something that's genetic that isn't, helping with fertility, et cetera, et cetera. So, as the conventional doctor, parang you'd look into that. But I love how your explanation of it is, yeah, it's more of an imbalance and it's very holistic. It's still something that
yeah,
you might be doing in your lifestyle that you consider to be normal that is actually affecting your fertility.
yeah. It's like a plant. I met an OB-GYN before who was also doing this. Like she entered integrative medicine. I can't forget what she said. She said like in plants, flowers are a sign of fertility. Diba? I think it's literally also for women, diba?
Mhm.
Tapos, think of if you're a plantita, look at your plants. Like if you're not taking care of them, diba,
Yeah.
they're not forming flowers. They don't look lush.
Yeah.
But and like if you look at, let's say, the history of that plant, maybe it wasn't getting enough sun, maybe it was so stressed inside a condo that was very messy. You get where I'm going, right? So
Yeah.
if you start taking care of it, if you start balancing its internal environment and bring it back to the way it was meant to be, you'll
Mhm.
notice biglang the plant will flourish, biglang may flower na siya. So that's
Yeah.
why fertility is. That's the way we look at it. That's how I explain to patients. Now, if you start bringing balance back to your life, everything will flow properly again,
Mhm.
hopefully, and that's where we can help with Chinese medicine. We guide them through that. We don't give like a quick fix. We guide them into bringing back balance into their lives.
So like we talk about women a lot because well a lot of us who really go through this and talk about it are women, but there,
Yeah,
the fertility issue can also be a guy thing as well, right? Is it the same concept?
definitely. Yeah. Mm-mm. Yeah. Sorry. Are you finishing your
No,
question?
so I was gonna say so like imbalance pa din siya, like even if it's a
Yeah.
guy, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, they could be constitutional. Tama ka, genetic. Pwede rin, may naman ng problem.
Yeah.
But from what we're seeing in the clinic, and from what I learned from my mentor, a lot of them are acquired from our lifestyle because our modern lifestyle is causing so many imbalances. And I think that's where Eastern medicine becomes fascinating because it brings you back. It helps you remember how your body is supposed to flow.
Yeah. It just makes you more mindful as well about how you're
Definitely.
treating your body in general.
Yeah,
Doc
for
Candy
sure.
says for doctors use TCM as one of their tools to help patients improve fertility.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that really is something a lot of you guys really look into when you do your functional medicine consults, or the holistic medical consults,
Yeah.
which we found out involves a lot of TCM as well, which is fascinating because like I never really thought about it, but now that I'm getting introduced to these traditional Chinese medicine concepts, paunti-unti, I'm like, okay, yeah, I see that there. Or
Yeah.
it's amazing like how do you guys know like like what emotions we have like trouble managing, yun pala it shows up in like the liver, the kidneys. um so in terms of fertility, um and you said well like yeah, it could be genetic, somebody might have like PCOS, etc., etc. But let's start with the more the other environmental factors muna. So what could maybe affect someone's fertility in terms of lifestyle?
One thing I'm seeing now is overworking. It's very,
Mm-hmm.
very common in women. Um, well, they say, because in Chinese medicine, we look at energy channels,
Uh-huh.
right? There are two very important energy channels that we look at when we think of gynecologic issues like fertility. This might be the technical na, but it's called the Renmai, the directing vessel, and the Chongmai, the penetrating vessel. Let's just say that they're energy highways that pass through the uterus, and they form a straight line, like from the uterus until your head. And
Mm.
if you're overworking, if you're overthinking things, your mind uses up too much chi, so there's not enough left for the uterus. So if you notice, hindi ka pa pala nagpapakonceive, but for patients who get acupuncture treatments for fertility, we put a
Mm-hmm.
lot of needles on the head because my mentor told me the first step is you really have to relax the patient so that the mind doesn't take up the chi that's supposed to go to the uterus. So there's a
Eh,
Western correlation to that. I think it pertains to the adrenal glands, the stress, the cortisol, and the sex hormones. They all come from the same source. But yeah, that's one thing, the mind body connection.
mhm.
Yeah,
So
tapos
it's interesting, because like just based on my experience with a lot of my friends, the ones who are like we consider like the workaholics, who are super career driven, sila nga yung parang hirap to conceive babies as
yeah,
opposed to like my friends who like would be more than willing to take a step back from their careers and are willing to like ready to be mommies na. Parang it's
yeah.
so easy for them to conceive. So it's is it more of the stress?
Um, so let's go TCM terms. Remember before I mentioned it was about yin and yang. There's a
Mhm.
balance of yin and yang in the body.
Yeah.
Yin is the feminine energy, like the material basis of things.
Mhm.
Yang is the transformative fire. That's a
Yeah.
TCM term. Okay. So when you're overworking, when you're working long hours without adequate rest, they say Diba, like kumari, you're burning the midnight oil. That
Mm.
oil, that physical thing, they call that your kidney yin energy. Um, so you're literally using up your reserves. So you don't have enough to like enough ingredients to work on your fertility. So
Yeah.
that's one thing we regulate with Chinese medicine.
Got it. That's so
Mhm.
interesting. I think it was Doc Fran or Doc Sasa that talking about parang there are certain times where parang like organs in our body are activated. And kung
Mhm.
nagpupuyat ka, like there is a certain organ, I think it was the kidneys nga, na like
Yeah.
it doesn't get parang to rest as much as the rest, which kind of leads to imbalances nga daw.
Yeah, anyone can just Google that. It's called the PCM clock, Chinese medicine clock. So every 2 hours, your chi goes to an organ. Para siyang lumilipat-lipat siya ganun. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're not allowing that organ to receive chi at that time, to work the way it was supposed to work, then imbalances can occur.
Yeah.
Kidney, because in fertility, Chinese medicine really looks at the kidneys. It's such an important organ in PCM.
Yeah.
Going towards Western medicine, I guess it correlates to the adrenal glands that sit on
Mm-hmm.
top of the kidneys that make all your hormones.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Kidney time is somewhere around 5 to 7 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. It's a late afternoon towards evening. If you think about it, that's a message to your body that says the day is ending. You have to start detoxing and releasing what's not
Mm-hmm.
meant to be there. But if you're a night shift worker and you just woke up and you suddenly had a big meal, if you're suddenly so awake doing sports, it goes against what's natural in your body, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
exactly harmful, but over time these things accumulate.
Yeah. So interesting. So yeah,
Mhm.
so like what else in terms of so we talked about overworking, we talk about
Yeah.
stress. What else could maybe affect our fertility? I love what Doc Candy says. We're not made of infinite energy. No, ubos tayo.
Uh,
Too much energy and we
yeah.
don't rest and recover. I think this is super important because in this day and age, in the age of parang it needs to be instant gratification. We're always in this mindset of go go go, and
Yes.
how being productive or being busy equals being successful.
Mhm.
So I love that with traditional Chinese medicine as well. Parang it forces us to unlearn a lot of these kind of like limiting mindsets that we've put upon ourselves by
Yeah.
simply listening to our body and what it needs. Not
Bingo. You got
really
it.
wasn't. Oh, like we weren't really built, no, to like to just go, 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 and it's affecting areas in our body that we don't realize.
Mhm.
So yeah, so aside from stress, aside from being a workaholic, what else could maybe impede our fertility if we want to bring in babies into the world?
Okay. Another thing they were saying is excessive exercise, especially if you were young. Like too much work.
Mm,
Yeah, kaya sa Chinese medicine, they're very weary of child athletes. Ayaw nila nun. You look at their sports, they're very, like martial arts, they're very gradual.
yeah.
They say in Chinese medicine, again, technical terms, it weakens the spleen and kidney yang energy naman. Diba okay, so if when I mentioned the organs, let's just say they have a certain effect in your body. But kanina, di ba, overwork, we deplete the yin energy
Mm-mm.
of the kidneys, the midnight oil, di ba?
Yeah.
With overactivity naman, too much exercising, you weaken the yang energy. Inuubos mo siya. So
Uh-oh.
you don't have enough of that fire now to conceive a baby. Especially if you were like a teenager doing this, you're still a developing body, so your uterus is very vulnerable. So that's another reason that Chinese medicine looks into. So with
Interesting.
that, yeah, you have a weak kidney and spleen growing up as an adult if you've been like a very active athlete as a child.
Mhm.
That's one cause of infertility though, is happening in Chinese medicine.
Interesting. But this isn't like when you say active as a child, this isn't like Oh, I was on like the volleyball team or the basketball team
That's
growing
it.
up.
Actually,
Ah,
that's
that's
it.
it.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking kind of like really like, kind of like Olympic level training. But even like the training that we might do for, let's say, like if you're part of the volleyball team, basketball team, like that would impede our fertility as well.
It's not direct. It's not A equals B. You know, and it's not for everyone. Maybe your constitution could handle it. Maybe
Yeah.
some were too weak or vulnerable from it. Maybe from whatever they inherited from their parents. But in Chinese medicine, when they talk about lifestyle, they just say it's not ideal. It's really
Mm-mm.
not ideal because your body is using all of that energy to still build itself, and all the organs are still vulnerable. So once you're doing that, you're using up the reserves, like what Doc Candy said, your yang energy reserves to do the physical activities when in fact it needs to still build itself. So you grow up into an adult na medyo compromised yung liver mo. But PCM or like functional medicine, like any our field in Central Holistico,
Yeah.
they have ways naman to counter this.
Yes. Exactly. And I think like also parang the challenge nga lately is just to get more people to be more active.
Yeah. Yeah. Baliktad naman, di ba?
Diba?
Now
Parang,
the
parang
adults
when,
question
when
na
we
to.
were kids, right, we had so much extra energy. I feel like
Yeah.
we kind of needed those activities just to expend all that extra energy. I think the trouble more is like when we get older, we don't want to do it na
Yeah.
anymore.
I think okay lang naman yun, yung playing around with your friends, gano'n.
Yeah.
Siguro yung when our textbooks say excessive physical work as kids, yung talagang pinapressure na sila. You
Yeah.
need training na every day. Like, just,
Yeah.
not just physical, but goes towards the mental already. Tingin ko yan
Mm.
yung sinasabi ng mga textbooks in Chinese medicine.
So kind of like more like performance training,
Yeah.
basically. And
Like
like that
really
would
overworking. Yeah.
going forward.
Mhm.
Sige.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see why there would be an imbalance there. Sige, Doc. Are
Mhm.
there any other factors that could affect, people who, because it's turning into parang a common thing now, which is kind of weird for
Ah,
me.
it is.
Kind of like I grew up in the 90s, and parang that was like you'd kind of hear the odd every now and then, like, oh, we're having difficulty conceiving. But now in the 21st century, it's so like it's part of normal conversation now, which
Yeah.
is kind of frightening.
It's true. I think maybe one third or half of my patients are all infertility cases. Almost
Yeah.
half infertility. I get surprised also. Kaya may routine questions na ako. And like I really have those like six sets of treatments for them. But yeah, lifestyle talaga. And going back na again to your next question, like another thing, again this sounds weird, but in Chinese medicine they say it's invasion of cold, too much cold in the environment. So, if ang lakas mo mag-aircon, and if ang lakas mo daw mag-shorts, and you're always outside in a cold, if you were living in a cold environment, in
Yeah.
Chinese medicine, ayaw nila sa lamig. They don't like cold. Um, I tell my patients, diba, like if you accidentally cut yourself and it's bleeding, you put ice, diba, so
Oh,
that everything constricts. So
yeah.
that's what cold does to your body.
Interesting.
Everything starts constricting, your blood doesn't flow properly, and it causes a lot of stagnation in your body. Okay, if you look at authentic Chinese restaurants, they don't
Mhm.
serve anything cold really. Everything is warm.
Yeah.
Ayaw nila na ice. Kasi nga, alam nila it has those problems on your health. So, then and then, like the excessive physical activity, kids daw, this again will sound so strange, but if you're a child daw who's doing sport and you're always in shorts,
Uh-oh.
exposed to the wind and the cold outside, um, the cold can enter your body, and
Mm.
if it happens in a chronic state, it turns into what we call internal cold. It enters your uterus, your internal organs, and
Yeah.
that's where it obstructs like the natural flow of chi and blood in the area. So
Mm.
it's like a machine, like a car. Like the
Yeah.
engine is not flowing properly because there's something going on. It's not may nakaharang dun. Parang
Yeah.
ganun.
That, it sounds weird, but it makes sense.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, yeah, but I guess in terms of the cold here, that probably won't be our problem. Our problem is like there's too much humidity.
Yeah. Alam mo yung sa atin, sabi ng mentor ko, the problem is kasi two of my mentors are pure Chinese. They're
Mm.
Chinese sons, so I studied in their school. They noticed that. Because they're from mainland China. Like, even, I think the northern part lang was very cold. So coming to
Mm.
the Philippines, they were surprised. They said they encountered a lot of what we call cold diseases. Diseases they see in cold countries happening here. And they're like, why? We're near the equator. It's such a tropical country. Kasi ang lakas mag-aircon ng mga Pinoy.
Ah,
Ang lakas mag-ice. Kaya, alam mo,
actually, ang
diba,
hilig ko sa yelo.
diba? Kaya sabi nila, bakit ganun? Ang lamig, ang init sa Pilipinas, but they have cold diseases. Because when you analyze, when you study a case or a patient, you can see signs in ang daming cold sa body niya.
Yeah.
So that's why. So again, lifestyle. Kaya, believe it or not, I have patients na when they come regularly for acupuncture, we fix the diet. And because of my TCM background, I also say, aside from removing the unhealthy stuff, no cold. And they get so surprised. Pero alam mo, some patients naging regular yung menstruation nila.
Just
I even have
taking out like ice in the diet and cold stuff.
yes, I even have a patient, true story, her myoma got smaller. Um, and this is something we've been monitoring with her OB. Yeah, through ultrasound, dumilit yung myoma niya, acupuncture and no cold.
Ang
Nothing cold.
galing.
Yeah, kasi myoma daw, according to the Chinese books, are blood stasis. Blood na naiipon doon. They're not flowing. And again, cold in the uterus causes that. So just by removing all the cold in the body, getting sun, exercising, giving your body warmth, it has a lot of effects already. Weird,
Interesting.
no?
Yeah, we have a couple of messages. Marielle says, "Good morning, girls. Hi, Issa. I'm learning a lot."
I don't
And
see it, but hi. I think she's my classmate. I think.
yeah, and then Duck Cat says, "That's why we want a warm uterus." It's
Yes.
complicated to read them. Na parang, well, isn't it supposed to be warm? Pero yeah, after your explanation,
No.
parang okay. So talagang something as simple no as ice, as adding ice to iced teas or having
Yeah,
shakes, etc., has a big effect pala on our body.
huge. Huge
That is
effect. Huge
that is
effect.
crazy.
Yeah.
So
Um,
in terms of food, like are there any like foods that could like impede fertility? Like will eating a lot of spicy food kind of help warm us up? Or, how does that work?
okay, so again, there are mentions talaga of what food to avoid, and these are from actual textbooks of Chinese medicine. One,
Mm,
again, remove excessive consumption of cold. They really do
talaga.
mention that.
Mm.
Iced foods and drinks, bawal daw talaga yan. Again, cold
Ice
in the uterus.
cream, ice,
Yeah, but they also warn against greasy food and dairy. And I'm sure you've encountered this with the interviews with the functional medicine doctors because this is something that we're all seeing now. In Chinese medicine, they would say that greasy food and dairy they cause dampness in the liver.
mm-mm.
Um, Dampness was something very hard for me to understand when I was studying Chinese medicine, but think of it as like when a river is flowing like with like fresh water, it's flowing very well, there's no problem. But
Mm,
what if certain things get mixed into the water and now there's sludge, there's like
mm,
mossy areas and sludge, so it's not flowing properly anymore.
yeah.
So that's what dampness is. They always look at the quality of the flow of qi. When you have a lot of greasy food and dairy, they say it dampens the flow
Mm,
of blood and chi. Malapot na siya. And
yeah.
over time, if you continue this lifestyle of dampness, it tends to form phlegm. So,
So kumbaga
phlegm,
like yung sludge pakapal ng pakapal ng pakapal.
amen. Got it. Exactly. Exactly. And you know what? It is weird, but I have patients. I actually have one patient who I just saw last week. She's been telling me, Doc, every time we do acu, may lumalabas na parang phlegm sa ihi ko. I'm like, ha? May plema yung ihi mo? Kasi nga, and because in her case, I noticed siya the lifestyle was causing a lot of phlegm, so I put acupuncture point to remove it. But this was just last Thursday. She called me after the session. Sabi niya, Doc, punta ka sa CR. I'm like, why? Can you look at my feet? I'm like, why? Why would I look at your feet? I really went into the CR of Centro Holistico. And she showed me the toilet bowl with pee. And there was phlegm inside. And
Ah,
like, sabi niya, every time there's acupuncture, may lumalabas na ganito. So maybe the Chinese were getting it very
yeah.
literally. Like certain things are forming, these pathogenic things are forming inside. And things to like, or not much things, like babies are not forming because maybe you have all of these pathogenic factors nga that have to be released first.
Yeah, and I
So,
think like, from a functional medicine point of view, that makes total sense because like dairy and greasy processed food causes ano talaga inflammation in the body.
yeah,
Yeah.
yun then. So I think I'm at the point now where I'm trying to connect like the new things they find in the Western world with the
Mhm.
wisdom from the East, and that's exactly it. Diba? Kaya nga we have these food intolerance tests in the clinic. You look
Yeah.
for the things that your body is not reacting well to, and I guess you assume that certain factors are created when you ingest these things. So yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's dampness. If you got that, because it's really hard to explain it.
No, no,
But
it,
yeah,
it makes sense. But I think instead of, I guess, instead of, I think I like the concept of like the sludge a lot better because it just gives you that visual of, yeah, so pag
yeah,
naging siya, just pakapal ng pakapal, like the stuff
right.
that's in your chi in the water that's flowing around you. So it really isn't
Yeah,
moving.
yeah. And aside from fertility, this is a lot of mental effects also by removing dairy and greasy food. Kasi blood flow yan eh. So blood flow to the brain. I know some people now who are studying for for boards and bar exams. I tell them this, and they feel it. They feel like their minds are sharper. So this
Yeah.
isn't just like these things I mentioned aren't just exactly for infertility. They're also for like overall well-being.
Oh, for sure. Like I remember, like I did the elimination diet I think a month ago, and yeah, just taking all the inflammatory foods out. Parang like your focus and your concentration like just goes up. Like wala na yung brain fog. Or alam mo yung feeling mo na like lutang ka and you need a couple
Yeah,
minutes,
yeah,
you need coffee in order to like bring yourself back down. Parang
yeah,
nawala siya. And it was really, I think, like taking out dairy, taking out like fried, greasy, heavy food. And yeah, who would have thought 2,000 years ago,
they
Chinese
knew
doctors
already.
already knew that.
Yeah. Alam mo, when I was in medical school, akala ko sobrang lutang ko, sobrang pagod ko lang parate. But I
Mm,
realized that I was doing too much exercise. I was so addicted to sports then. And my diet was shit. So I can't say that here, sorry. My
mm,
diet was really bad. So now that I'm studying, at that time you'd think, shit, ang bobo ko lang, like I'm so lazy, but why am I like that? But after
mm.
everything I studied now in these fields, I'm realizing my lifestyle, especially my diet, played a big role in my mental state that time. Lagi akong tulog sa class. But yeah, so it's all a blood flow issue. So to the mind, to the uterus, wherever, it's
Yeah.
your food, your diet plays a big role there.
Mm. That's so interesting. Okay, well, what about ano ba ba? What about like your sexual activity? So either you're
Yeah.
getting some, you're getting a lot, or you're not getting any. Like, does that affect your fertility?
Yes. Yes. Alam mo, so, okay, I have two things to say about that. One, the Chinese medicine books, they say that if you've had excessive physical activity as a child is below 18 years old, it weakens nga your kidneys and it damages your ren and chongmai, the energy channels that nourish your uterus. So parang ganun ulit. Again, it goes back to the energy stores. Your body is still trying to develop and you have a certain amount of energy and ginamit mo na siya nung bata ka pa lang. Kaya naubos siya nung adult ka. That's one thing
Oh,
they said. Yeah.
I It's parang like I wouldn't think like that would be like a limited resource in our body. Pero okay, it is pala.
Yeah, naubos na what they call your kidney energy.
Hmm.
And I don't know if this is too much, but there are signs to show na content na lang kidney energy mo. Because your kidney
Like what?
energy takes care of your hair. So pag marami kang white hair, ay, naubos na yung kidney energy nito.
Ah.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. And of course, your physical energy. Ganun. But may mga ganun yung mga signs talaga, like small signs in Chinese medicine. Your pulse, the way your tongue looks like, um, tongue diagnosis, that's one thing they do in Chinese medicine.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the
Doc Candy did that to me once, and I'm like, really?
dami niya sinasabi. Like, yun nga, we talked about cold earlier. If your tongue is a little purplish, that's a sign of
Mm,
stagnation. A lot of cold or white, very, very white. Yun.
mm,
Signs that you have too much cold. Kidney naman, if the back of your tongue looks cracked and pale and weak, yun, weak kidneys. Yeah,
ah,
that's what I know from Chinese medicine. But I actually have a friend who does Ayurveda. He owns an Ayurveda institute. Um,
mm.
he knows so much more about this. Like even the way you have sex now and the timing of your sex can determine the gender of your baby. Parang
What?
gano'n. Diba? Like, esoteric Indian medicine. I was
Yeah.
like,
We
seriously?
need to get that guy on here. That is so interesting.
Diba? I have a talk with him on Friday. His name is Sona Roy, Shanti Ayurveda Institute. Kasi I don't know the details yet. He was like mentioning certain things sa akin. I was like, huh? You
Yeah.
can choose, and this even borders towards like timing of the moon. Parang gano'n, like
Mm,
full moon, new moon.
yeah.
If you had sex early, kung ang daming sex daw ng babae, it will go, I think, towards a female. Ay, basta siya nakakaalam. So,
Galing.
maybe esoteric Chinese medicine. Maybe if I study that some more, I'll get to answer that in a few years. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
sexual activity really affects
I would
fertility.
love to chat with you about that. But I think I don't know, it kind of makes sense also, especially parang like tayo, we grew up with like Western astrology, right? So you kind of know, like, if you have sex and get pregnant in February, you're going to have a Scorpio baby, you know?
It's like very the way he talks about it. It's like a science. Um, basta I'll leave it up to him. Mas magaling siya doon. And he's a lecturer. If people want to get into this, look for Shanti Ayurveda Institute. That's his school. He teaches. Yun. Kaya I used to go to his clinic and I chat a lot with him. Kaya parang, what?
Yes.
And it's very
Mind
interesting.
blown.
Sobra mind blown. You can choose a boy or a girl depending on your sexual activity. I was like, huh? Really? Okay, I'll
Yeah.
look into that.
So, pero in traditional Chinese medicine, how do we go about that? So, in terms
Choosing the
of
gender?
wanting, like, no, in terms of fertility,
Yeah.
like, is there, yeah, parang should somebody be more active? Should somebody be
Uh,
less active? And then it's interesting how in traditional Chinese medicine you keep mentioning like when we're younger
mhm.
versus like when we're older, and just how when we're younger it makes such a big difference to when
Mhm.
we get older.
Yeah. I think from what I've studied, like the formal Chinese medicine studies, the way you have sex wasn't really mentioned. It's more of the state of your body when you have sex. And that's where the medical part can help you. Um, and what we do also, something I do also personally, I treat the patient based on the phase of your cycle. Because diba sa
Mm,
Western medicine, we think the menstrual cycle, there's the menstruation, and then your ovaries will help an egg mature, and then,
yeah.
will help a follicle mature, an egg will be released, the
Mm,
remaining part will be the corpus luteum, there's estrogen, there's
yeah.
progesterone. It's very physical. It looks like what is happening at that time.
Yeah, like
Okay,
you have your fertile days and then you get your period and then the
yeah,
cycle repeats itself. Yeah.
based on the hormones and the activities going on in the reproductive system.
Hmm.
Chinese medicine, Of course, also looks at that, but it goes a step further. Again, yin and yang, the
Mm,
energy that transforms it. And I think this is the interesting part because sometimes our diagnosis is what is if it's a deficiency in the body, is it a yin deficiency? Yin is the act the physical thing. There's, the egg
mm,
is not forming, the ovary is not okay, the hormones are not enough. But we also look at the yang energy. They call that the ministerial fire, like the inner fire that the person has. It's like sometimes everything looks normal physically, but
mm,
what she lacks is the yang energy, the kidney yang. There's
mm.
not enough transformative fire. It's not moving. It's not being pushed. Not enough
Yeah.
physiological activity happening.
Mm,
And di
got
ba
it.
nga, lifestyle nga, nauubos yung yang energy mo.
Sa
So,
ibang bagay. Oo.
yeah, ibang bagay, exactly. And it doesn't have to be physical activity. It could be overthinking. Your mind is
Mm,
getting up too much of that yang energy. So it's not
mm,
enough. So
mm.
that's
Okay.
where we are.
Yeah. So it's really, you really need that, like that mapusok energy in order to make the baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
That ways.
Yeah. Alam mo, ibang patients ko nga na matagal na pupunta sa akin, hindi pa napupuntas. I have to ask like more personal questions now. Like, so how are you and your husband? Are you guys still, with fire? And
Yeah.
these
Is
are,
it your
yeah,
passion in the ano ba?
yeah.
Yeah.
Totoo. And that's where some of them actually would come out saying, no, wala na. So
Yeah.
all their tests in hospitals are normal, wala doon nakikita, but you
Mm.
scrutinize naman like that the inner fire that they have. And
Yeah.
usually in my practice, I see one, they're overworked, naubos ang fire. Two, certain emotional factors, nawawala na yung fire. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's really important though, like you really keep that spark alive, really that passion,
yes,
to
exactly.
everything. You gotta kind of think like, it's kind of woo woo, but then based on results, I mean,
Yeah,
and if this has been the teaching from like 2,000 years ago, it makes sense. And
yeah,
it's just the common things, the parang stuff that like we don't want to admit to.
yeah,
Basically,
yeah.
that isn't working for us. Oh, we have a question pala from Marielle. So she asks, would supplementing with warm emitting food like turmeric, ginger help aside from just cutting out on cold drinks?
Yes. Actually, they do. Turmeric and ginger, in particular, in Chinese medicine, they say it affects the spleen, the spleen and stomach, the earth element of the body. So that
Mm,
is it. That in Western medicine, I guess it translates to your gut, and your
yeah.
gut is what helps create more energy and blood for your body. Diba nga, it extracts the things from
Okay.
your food and it turns them into nutrients for your body. So
Yeah.
the stronger this machinery works, the more you're able to extract from it, and your body gets more energy. So yes, Marielle, she's my classmate in medical school. Marielle.
Love that.
Yeah.
I,
So
I,
yeah.
I it makes sense as well. I remember like I grew up with like a couple of like Indian aunties, and they would always kind of have us kids like try to eat like chilies
Yeah.
or ginger, and they were saying like, yeah, no, it's good for the hair, it's good for your immune system, etc., because it makes you sweat and it
It's
keeps you
true.
warm.
Yeah. Ah,
Basically,
yeah. Galing. Tama sila. Tama sila. Medyo lumalim tayo sa fertility. But yeah, the spicy food, they say, kasi diba there are 5 elements in Chinese medicine. Parang, I call Chinese medicine feng shui of the body. So we check like which element is not balanced.
yeah.
So acrid or spicy goes into the metal element, which is the lungs. So once
Mm.
you do that, you introduce heat. It goes into that certain area and it opens everything up. So there's more balance. Because the lungs also, technically, when it goes to the skin, the lungs are in charge of your skin. So, it opens up the skin,
Interesting.
it dispels
Yeah.
pathogens, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Because it helped. It's basically like the biggest kind of organ to help you detox, right? So
yeah, definitely. The metal elements, the lungs and the large intestine are your detox. That's the
mm,
detox part of your body. It's yeah, functional medicine, diba? We also talk about detox. Like Chinese medicine naman, that's their 1,000-year-old take on detox. Fix the
yeah,
lungs and the large intestine. Yeah.
I love how everything is connected. It's pretty amazing.
True.
Okay, and
Totoo.
are there any other factors that we can control right now to kind of help with our fertility?
Um, those are the major things that Chinese medicine are saying. But another thing that I noticed from my own practice is the lack of sleep and the lack of sunlight.
Yeah,
An abnormal circadian rhythm.
yeah.
A lot of I have some patients who do night shifts, or even if it's not actual night shift, it's we call it social jet lag. Um, Sila
Mm,
mismo, yung lifestyle nila, they end work late, or even if work doesn't end so late, they still go out. So it's social jet lag.
yeah.
So again, you're going against the natural rhythm of your body,
Mm,
and it's again causing all these imbalances in the feng shui of your body.
yeah. And just going out and getting sunlight. Like a lot of us have been taught to be afraid of the sun.
Yeah,
Um, cancer causing daw, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, like,
yeah,
our our ancestors never really got that
no. No,
in
di
the
ba,
sun all day.
yeah, di ba vitamin D deficiencies lately na lang siya lumalabas.
Yeah.
And but when I mentioned also about lacking yang energy, like we don't have enough yang, the transformative one, we get that
Mm.
also from the sun. It has to touch our backs. There's an energy channel there that collects yang energy along our spine. So I
Oh,
tell patients, hirap ako mag-explain sa patients minsan because they have to be super open-minded when they come to me. Okay, okay, acupuncture every week and then get 15 minutes of sun touching this part, the upper part of your spine, 15 minutes in the morning. Drink
yeah.
ginger tea. Parang, huh? Parang weird, diba? But it makes sense. Some of them are pregnant now. So
It it
it
it
doesn't
it, it,
work.
it sounds so out there if you don't explain kind of like the thinking behind it. Right?
Yeah.
'Cause like a lot of
It
the
is,
time it's kind of like, okay, you do this, you do like I used to go to a TCM practitioner in Binondo. So ito talaga yung mga old school like Chinese that don't really speak any Tagalog. They will look at your pulse, they will look at your
yeah,
tongue,
yeah.
and then they don't know what's happening with you. And I'm like, how do you like it's so accurate? And then they prescribe all these things. Okay, you do this, you do this, you do this. And
Yeah.
hindi ko get. It's like, why? Like, okay, no pork in your diet, no crab, no ano, ganyan, ganyan. And I'm like, why? But now that you're
Yeah.
kind of breaking it down and explaining the concepts behind it, it makes a lot more sense. And I feel kind of like if I were the patient, I would definitely, I would definitely kind of want to stick to the
Understand.
plan
No?
a lot more because I understand now like how it's affecting my body.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So sige, doc, a lot of the question or a lot of the patients that also come in to Centro with kind of like fertility issues are also a lot of women who have PCOS
Yeah.
is it called APAS or APAS?
Yeah. Apas. Yeah. I forgot what it stood for, but it's an autoimmune problem nowadays. When I was in
Yeah.
medical school, I took the board in 2014. I never heard of Apas. It's something that's coming out recently, but
Yeah.
they call it an autoimmune problem. So autoimmune is anything that is your antibodies, which are supposed to be protecting you, are now fighting you.
Yeah.
So nagkaka-problem sa immune system mo. And Chinese
Mm.
medicine has an explanation for that. They have an organ that they blame, not blame, but where the imbalance is, pag ganon.
Yeah.
They
Mm.
say it's a problem in the small intestine because, di ba, the
Layo.
small, sobra, di ba? Di ba, it's a gut issue daw. Oo, sabi na it's a gut issue because
Okay.
so in Chinese medicine, each organ, aside from the physical and obvious role, like the stomach is to digest, small intestine is to absorb the nutrients, they have an energetic role. And the small intestine, di ba, it receives the food that your stomach digested. It's supposed to release the waste, but absorb what's essential, the nutrients. It's supposed,
Yeah.
the term in Chinese medicine is that it separates the clear from the unclear.
Mm.
And if you think about it, so that's its role all over the body. And that's what an autoimmune problem is. Your body has a problem separating what it needs from what it thinks is waste. And I think that's where all these new studies on gut health are coming out. diba? So, kaya sa Centro, all our patients na who come for acu lang, I still give some diet advice.
Yeah.
And especially the ones who come for APAS, diet
Mm.
advice. And I've had patients who got pregnant because of
Oh,
acupuncture and diet changes. And they've had failed IVFs and IUIs before from hospitals. And yun nga, parang ang simple lang eh, but change your diet. Remove the we can't invest in a food intolerance test to know exactly what your body is not ano ba, it was not good for your body.
yeah.
Like personally for you because it's very different for different people.
Yeah.
The common things that we see are wheat or gluten,
Eggs.
dairy, and eggs. Those three.
Mhm.
Just
Break-
remove those three.
Yeah.
The good things. Remove the good things, and then
Now, our favorite breakfast foods. Remove all the favorite breakfast foods, and you're good.
no fruit treats, no carbs, nothing, no pasta.
No
But
pasta.
for a while lang naman eh. For a while lang naman. Hanggang maayos lang yung gut mo at mabuntis ka. And then slowly reintroduce after.
Uh-oh.
Ganun.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's. How can I say this? Like, it's so interesting to me how, like, there has kind of been an entire industry now that has been built over our our not being able to conceive, and it just
Yeah.
amazes me as well how expensive it is. Like,
It
like
is.
I'm in my mid 30s now, and I have like friends who are in their 40s, 50s. They keep telling me like, "Oh, freeze your eggs na, habang they're viable pa, just in case." And I'm like, "I'm good." And then they're
Same.
like, they like to like send me like brochures, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, guys, like if J-Lo can like have twins at 40, I am confident na may pag-asa pa ako. Like, I'm not that worried. But
Yeah.
like, I think this industry as well has kind of put women in fear of our biological clock just like running out, mauubos na, matutuyo ka na, et cetera, et cetera. And like they've been pushing this fear of, oh, paano if you don't get pregnant, paano if you don't have a baby, et cetera, et cetera. And everything is so expensive.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Grabe, I talk to my patients about that. Na how much they spend. Well, some of them are open. Some of them start the conversation.
Yeah.
Grabe, yung mga IVF clinics and the
Exactly.
hundreds, thousands of pesos. And yun nga, my other friend yan, so the Ayurvedic guy, he goes like, dati naman, walang problem na ganyan. Like, dati lahat ka nabubuntis eh. It's a modern
Exactly.
It's really a lot of imbalances in our bodies from modern day lifestyles.
Yeah.
So,
And
just go back to
but it's also interesting that a lot of the imbalances as well, it's like stuff that we can actually control.
yes. That's
No.
exactly where the field of functional medicine, anti-aging medicine, the emergence of TCM, that's the main message. It's really a lot of lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
A lot of commitment though, but
Yeah.
so much lifestyle changes.
Right? It's kind of like it's kind of like amazing that I almost kind of feel like I'm being tricked, for example, into like being peer pressured into like getting my eggs frozen, etc. I'm like, magkano yan? Tapos if I want to have a baby, I have to pay pa for like the IVF, etc., etc. When something as simple as like taking out like wheat, dairy, and eggs in my diet, and sleeping on time, and and managing my stress can do can still have me do that if I choose to, even like into my 40s. Or Doc Kat says we have patients at Centro who still got pregnant in their 40s. Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Ako din, one patient last year, 40 years old.
Yeah, I mean, like, we're living longer now as a species, so it kind of makes sense that we should still be able to reproduce even in our like later on in life. I mean, 40s isn't that old.
Yeah, if you know how to manage your reserves well. And the thing with these lifestyle changes though, they take time. So we say that it took you so many years to ruin your body. You can't expect it to get fixed overnight or in a few
Yeah.
weeks or months. The gut nga daw, it takes at least a year to, to bring it back to health from all your bad eating habits. Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of changes in your diet and some supplements. Ganon. Kaya,
Mm-mm.
I tell patients, they have to be patient. Literally, they have to be patient. Kasi what I'm doing is not overnight. I think that's why you said nga, there's an emergence of this field. Kasi they work naman, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very impressive what they do. And I've had patients, I actually have some patients, and they still choose to go through that. And they come to me for complementary services. So
Yeah.
like to support the pregnancy. Because we do that also. We help prepare the uterus for implantation if you're going through IVF. Right after implantation, 24 hours for a month, we support it. Um,
Mm.
that's a month before and after IVF. So anyway, it works, but they're very aggressive. They're
Yeah.
very they're very invasive and aggressive. So if
Mm.
someone wants that, go for it. If you
Exactly.
want, diba? But
Mm-mm.
if you're having difficulty with that, because some patients, a lot of our patients are failed IVFs and IUIs. Um, so you come to us because we help fix the internal environment. We
Yes.
help rebalance things so you're
Mm.
able to receive either naturally or artificially.
Yeah. So I think what I kind of want to kind of like bring home there as well is that, like this is like another option or another
Yeah,
tool that people can explore. Because I usually like,
yeah,
with Central, a lot of the times parang we become last option. It's kind of like,
yeah.
okay, I have finished all the conventional options out there. I don't know what this is, but let's give it a try, And then they
Yeah,
come in and they're like, ganito pala to. It's a journey pala. It really is like
yeah.
a wellness journey. And I have to be pala responsible. Like there's no one pill that I can take that
Wala.
can fix it, etc. But I also think with patients who journey with Central, they have a better appreciation for their bodies and they start making better choices for themselves.
Yeah.
Dr. He says, the more apurado, the more mauubos energy mo. Chill lang. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I love the energy at Central kasi whenever you come in any of the clinics, like everybody just has such a nice chill vibe. It doesn't
Yeah, relax
feel
lang.
clinical. You feel relaxed. It really puts you in the mood to like I want to have whatever they're having. Parang ang sasaya ng mga doktor tsaka yung mga staff dito. Like, anong meron yung mga yan?
We acupuncture each other.
Exactly.
Yeah, we very chill.
He says, if you want to have kids, kahit wala pang asawa, start the journey na. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Don't wait for the asawa or for a lot of sperm donor. Do a thing. Like, you can already put things into place now, which is really just, like fixing your lifestyle. It really is as simple as that. But
Yeah.
we tend to forget that because life gets in the way and we have these beliefs that, oh, I have to perform and I have to look busy or I have to earn a certain amount before I can deserve all the good things, which really isn't true. It's just stuff that's in our head. And the stuff that we really want, when we want to start a family, when we want to have, the little me to care for and take care of, hindi natin nagagawa because all of these other things just get in the way.
Naubos na ang energy mo. Yeah, yeah. I think that's the biggest takeaway from any Eastern or functional medicine. You only
Mm.
have a limited number of reserves, and you have to care about your energy. You really
Yeah.
have to care about your energy, your internal environment. Diba nga? Like I always say, like we're so into plants now. We're just
Mm.
more complex plants. Diba? Like you
Basically,
care so much for the plants, and you're also a plant. You need sun, you need water, you need good soil, and
yeah.
you don't give drugs to your plants. Not all the time. You don't really, diba, like study everything like every cell of the plant to remove the yellowing leaves or to help it
Yeah.
flower. You support it.
Yeah.
So that's our approach to health.
Yeah.
It could be primary treatment if someone wants to commit to it, or it could be complementary if you're going through something in the hospital.
Mhm.
There.
Exactly. Like there are, I think what I love about this is really there are other options that people
Yeah.
just aren't aware of. And
Mm-hmm.
once they realize how much control we have over our own body, our own
Yes.
constitution, and that we are not a victim of our environment or a victim of our genes, then we
Yeah.
can really take control of the narrative of our body. And yeah, who would have thought like 2000 years ago the Chinese already knew this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting. Like actually, when I was studying Chinese medicine, I was always like, it's like I was in Hogwarts. Like I was learning all of these weird things that were so wow. Like if you were like some crystal loving spiritual junkie like me, it's like your type of
Exactly.
medicine.
Exactly. Like, and it makes sense. And I think like there is also this, I don't know, there is this movement now that people are going back to natural. Like they're realizing that the Western concepts that we've embraced for so long isn't really working for us, especially like during the pandemic where we've been forced to slow down and forced
Yeah.
to like, really take a good look at ourselves and what's happening. A lot of
Yeah.
people are realizing that, you know what, like that go lifestyle like isn't for me. So like what do I do
Yeah.
now? And how can I fix all the damage that we've done? Which is where Centro Holistico and you guys come in. Okay, last comment. Yanni says, I love Centro. It's my second home in the Philippines. Love that. Okay, well, Doc Isa, we're at the top of the hour now. Do you have something that's happening on Friday? Would you like to talk a little bit about it and invite people over?
Yeah, sure. So the friend I was talking to you about, the Ayurveda guy, his name is Sona Roy. He's actually an Ayurveda teacher,
Hmm.
and he and I and another friend of ours, we're gonna give a talk on fertility. We're calling
Mhm.
conscious conception. So different traditional medicine, like disciplines, their take on fertility. So he's giving the Ayurvedic point of view. I'm giving the traditional Chinese medicine point of view. And my other friend, Belai, is giving the anthroposophical point of view. Have you heard of anthroposophy, like the Waldorf schools, biography work?
Mm.
A
Yeah.
very spiritual approach
Yeah.
to fertility. So it's just like a nice chat because I'm with these guys often and we talk about these things. And we're like, why not make it a talk that's happening this Friday.
Okay.
They can look for conscious conception and on Facebook. There's a Facebook event there
Mm.
and also on Instagram. Yeah. If you want to go in depth, there are going to be lectures, and I highly recommend to listening to my friends, especially si Sona, the guy who talks about the way you have sex determining the gender. That's him.
Mm. It makes sense. They're also the guys that like invented like tantra and like like how to maximize that as well. So I'm like, yeah, I guess like that it connect naman siya. I guess there's a science there too. We've just been too obsessed with like the positions and stuff and just how weird and awkward it is for us. So we never really look into the deeper meaning of what like tantra has to offer.
Yeah. Alam mo, when I was in med school, sorry, last story na lang. I remember because like some of us we were asked to give lectures, and our teacher made one classmate report on the esoteric medical side of sex, uh,
Mm.
Chinese medicine point of view, and everything. It was so fascinating. And I feel like I should research and give a talk on that one day. Kasi grabe the stories talaga. Yeah, as in, ang
Well,
galing.
well, to be fair, no, based on results, like they are the most populated country on earth. So, there's something there.
They know what they're doing.
Exactly.
True. Oh, I know. At least that's feel niya on my patient. Oo nga, ano, galing mo ah.
Yeah, like 2,000 years of TCM. They're the most
Ano?
populated country. Like they know their stuff. They know what they're doing.
You're so right. So tayo, wala tayong alam dyan. Kasi tayo may problem tayo.
Well, we have a lot of Chinese in our blood too, so I guess
Alright.
it gets passed on a different way.
We have to remember the wisdom of our elders in
Exactly.
this aspect also.
Well, Lisa, for those who want to get in touch with you for like sessions or to talk about their fertility on Centro, which branches and when can they find you?
I'm in only two branches, QC and Pasig. So
Mm.
Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, I'm in QC. Wednesdays, I'm in Pasig. All day. Anytime Center's open, I'm there. Yeah.
Okay,
Until
fantastic.
40.
So you guys just need to set an appointment in the either the Pasig branch or the QC branch to meet with Doc Isa, talk about
Yeah.
your fertility issues, etc., etc. Acupuncture. You recommend colon cleanses as well to help with the
Yeah,
small
the
intestine, right?
detoxing. For some people, they need it. Yeah. Well, we'll assess. So if you come, I highly recommend because some patients they come straight for acupuncture, but
Mm.
I kind of convince them let's do a full consult first because we have to study everything. If you just come for acu, you just lie in the bed. I look at you at that moment and I rebalance what I think needs rebalancing. But it would be better if they come for a full consult so that we can assess all your lifestyle factors. We'll give a full prescription, a full lifestyle prescription. Like, things to change in the next coming months.
Yeah.
Together
And
with
this
acupuncture.
medical consult, like it runs for an hour. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a regular 15-minute sit down with a doctor and that's it.
No.
It really is very comprehensive and they really get to the root cause of whatever is happening to you or even just how to get you to your next level of
Yeah.
optimal health. So yeah, do come in, visit us if you're having any issues. If you're completely healthy, that's when we'd love to have you because we want on getting you to feeling a lot better and feeling optimal. And of course, it's easier to start with a healthy body than working from sickness to health. So I hope you guys learned a lot. I certainly did. Thank you so much, Doc Issa.
Welcome.
Super interesting talk on fertility. And yeah, we will see you again next Sunday for another wellness weekend. We will catch you there. So yeah, bye for now.